From the Power, Alan Richardson is with us. Alan, thanks for coming in.
Good to be here.
David King as well. So we've gone for two of the sharpest minds, one from the coalface, one from the media.
We couldn't replace him. We couldn't replace him, could we? We couldn't replace the big man.
You don't go like for like.
Who could you get from a clue of like for like?
Oh, it's just not
No
the
one.
same, surely.
Don't upset him.
Charlie Sheen.
Alan, your insights into Kane Cornes, as much from an opposition perspective, but then what you've learnt once you've got there.
Oh, look, I've always respected him from afar when coaching against him, but to have the opportunity to work with Kane, over this period of 8 or 9 months now has been an incredible insight into probably one of the most determined players I've seen. By his own admission, not blessed with enormous football talent, when he's probably underestimating himself there, but his ability to drive himself and to get the best out of himself is absolutely remarkable.
Look at that. One, not below third in 9-10 years, Kingy.
Oh, it's amazing. He's been an absolute star for the club, and I think sometimes these sorts of players can just go through the system and no one really rates them, external of the Port Adelaide people, because they see him every week. But I guess early on the perception outside of Port Adelaide was that maybe he was a selfish player and accumulated a lot of numbers, but that's clearly not the case.
No, his ability to be able to stop the opposition's better player, not necessarily the full-on tag, because his possession is still considerably valuable to us. In fact, I think part of the criticism, Kingy, was that he didn't use the ball very well, and I think there was a couple of seasons where that may have been the case, but certainly in my experience, his ability to be able to find targets, particularly out of a scrimmage, and so that we can play the game on our terms because we find a mark, has been really important.
His numbers have been pretty good this year, haven't they?
I was saying to Kingy, I think, if not still, he was behind Gary Ablett, the second highest rated midfielder in the competition last week.
Season got off to such a good start at Port Adelaide, so now you've split 5 wins and 5 losses in that order. David Koch was asked his insight on this, Robbo, and I've got a feeling you picked up just a smidge of the blame.
I remember seeing you on AFL 360 when you were 5 and zip and how much you were loving it. It's a bit more of reality now.
Mate, don't get too carried away.
Very nice.
Your head.
Oh, yeah, he was the one kissing my head.
So what's the challenge like, just to get things back on an even keel?
Oh, no, I think the club itself, and so I'm talking internally here, is realistic. The reality is we're a young team, the third youngest team in the competition behind GWS. Behind GWS and Gold Coast. So from that perspective, and taking into account, we had a reasonably good draw early. We have no illusions about that. We've been really competitive whilst we've lost 5 games. Disappointing game on the weekend against the Bulldogs.
That was the one that hurt.
Well, we finally fixed our start to the game because that's been a real frustration of ours all year. I can only imagine what Brad Scott's going through at the minute in terms of some of their frustration with the back end, but. Yeah, that was a game that, given that the two clubs are in similar positions, that we really needed to win to get things back on track. We would have gone into the break at 6 and 4, but we've also been competitive against the better oppositions. If you take first quarters out of it, we've actually won the remaining three quarters of the game.
You actually don't want to win too many games first year in, I don't think. I don't think it's healthy for them. I think they're still in a rebuilding phase. They need to get some early picks at the end of the year. It doesn't actually suit them to have a 10-win season. They're not going to make finals, in my opinion, Port Adelaide, and I don't think that would be the expectation internally. But to be competitive is really critical now, isn't it? Against the gun teams with your draw coming up like we see on screen there.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. I've said, we've played some pretty good teams in this block of 5 that we've lost. We've played Geelong, we've played Carlton, we played the Kangaroos down in Tassie, and if you can just park the first quarters, which is where basically we've lost the game, we've been really competitive. In terms of what we're looking for from an improvement perspective, we want young blokes like Wines, need these sort of guys to continue to grow, and that's happened. But we just need our guys to embrace the change that's been asked of them, and so far they've been really impressive.
Of all the clubs you've been to, Richo, is this the one where you've held the most responsibility?
A similar role with Rats at Carlton, but... I would say so. This role includes not only strategy on game day, but certainly a more strategic focus for our whole footy program. I had the opportunity only last week to head over to New York and be exposed to some of world's best practice there. So from that point of view, there's certainly a greater sense of long-term responsibility.
What's New York? Sorry, Kingy. When you say you went over to New York, you told us briefly before, but what was it?
It was a coming together of leaders from business, from the military, from sport, EPL, NBA, the NFL, talking about issues like culture. And these were all really successful organisations, franchises as they would call them, to talk about issues such as leadership, a bit of skill act. And so from that point of view, it was great. There was a bit of affirmation in terms of what we're doing is right, but there were also some real opportunities for our program.
I look at you, and you've been at how many clubs now? Collingwood, Essendon, Carlton.
15.
He's been at 15.
Yeah.
Rich, I was talking to some friends during the week, and I told them you were coming on, and we were just having a discussion about footy. And he said to me, it's a really good question. What does Alan Richardson do now? What's the next step? Now, the next step has to be senior coaching, doesn't it? Because you're not doing this for fun. You're doing this because you want to coach and put your stamp on a football club, don't you?
I certainly had those aspirations for a long time, Robbo, but the role that I'm playing now, I just don't want to underestimate how insignificant and important that is. It's a job where in the morning you wake up and really want to go to work because there's a real sense of responsibility that you can potentially make a significant difference, and the timing just couldn't be better. You know, Hinkley, Kosh. You get people like Wines into your organisation need. It's just fantastic time, and given they're such a proud club that hasn't had success.
Had your time here in round 6, and I think this was the perfect audition for a man wanting to be a senior coach. To not go down there and lose all day, and not go down there and win all day, but to go down and be trailing by 6 or 7 goals, and to reorchestrate the side and manufacture some moves and the style change during the breaks and get that through to your team and come back and nearly win the game. You must have been thrilled with that experience yourself, and to be able to then show your wares so publicly. Yeah,
it was a great opportunity, King, absolutely, and I really did enjoy it. You guys spoke to me prior to, and
yeah, we did,
and we mucked it up. And you speak about Koshy kissing your head, and I'm certainly copping the blame for starting the right because we haven't won since then. But no, it was great, King. They're just great opportunities when you're in the industry.
Right, a broader discussion. I want to get through mental scarring, versatility, game styles, discipline. Mental scarring first. This is acute now for North Melbourne. What is the cost of losing in the same way repeatedly?
I think it's a great lesson. I don't think there's a cost. I think that there's certainly some blame to be apportioned in different areas, and players need to learn who needs to take responsibility. The coach needs to learn what areas he can control. And I think in the long term, not right now, it'll be a positive for the Kangaroos. I keep saying it. I didn't expect anything different from the Kangaroos this year to what we're getting in terms of their draw being so difficult, and they haven't made a lot of change to that playing list. So I half suspect they expected this situation to be 2013. And I reckon 2014 they will have learned some terrific lessons, and particularly some individuals.
I rate their list really highly. I think Brad Scott's put them together beautifully, obviously with the assistance of others. They're maturing. The frustration I think Scotty would have would be that they're so impressive for significant portions of the game, obviously particularly early in the game, and then for whatever reason it's hard when you're on the outside are falling away. And I would imagine that would be coming back from their perspective to leadership, and I've heard you often talk about Joel Selwood. When someone needs to stand up and change the momentum of the game, it's very hard to do that from the coach's box. You need someone to inspire their teammates to greater effort. And so I would imagine to be a bit of pressure come to bear in terms of leaders doing something, but the on-field leaders.
We have seen that from the coach's box this year, though. We saw Mick Malthouse in round 1, after an hour of football, given the 6 months that they'd trained into that team, virtually throw out his plan and go back to a bit of a random play. We've seen Fremantle versus Collingwood, the three-quarter time, Ross Lyon saying, no, I'm going to put Walters in the middle for the first time ever and throw the rucks around and all sorts of stuff. And we've seen Essendon do it the last couple of weeks. So I think there's a big element of coaching that has to take some blame as well. And I think Brad knows that.
The question of versatility which you've raised there with Essendon, Hurley and Carlisle, who did the switch, they speak about this tonight on the Hanger.
I thought I started off okay, contest-wise I was pretty good, but obviously got on top of me when the mids started getting on top of our mids. Kept leaning up at the ball and got caught behind a bit too much, so it was actually good that we adjusted things. Hooksy went on him, tried to change it up, and then obviously myself and Mick swapped from back to forward. Yeah, it's a good trick. I think if you're not going well up one end, it's always good to go at the other. But I probably prefer down back. But I'm just happy that we got the win and did a role for the team.
It's a real, I suppose, trick for us that Jakey had a bit of a slow start to the game, and then I was able to go back and play on weight, which is a massive challenge for me, and I really enjoyed it.
So, Alan, the swing man is very much in vogue in the competition right now.
Yeah, certainly. We see Geelong doing it. They don't wait until they're behind to do it. You know, Pods and Taylor have been swapping. Absolutely, it's a real weapon to have someone that can play forward and back. I was at the Bombers when both those boys joined the club. You could have, in terms of Dodoro's report to us, Carlisle was a forward, Hurley was a bit of everything. So. They've always had that potential, and I mean that was outstanding to see the way that worked on the weekend.
Who's your swingman? Is Westhoff your swingman, but doesn't probably go back to play on someone? Goes back to Phil Holt, maybe.
Yeah, he certainly can.
Ruck?
He certainly can go back. The issue is if you're going to swing, you then need someone that go from defence that can actually have an impact forward potentially. Tringover's done that a little bit. We haven't had him for a while now, but. You know, Westy is probably
Can Butcher do it? Where is Butcher? What's he doing? Can he go back, or is he a forward?
No, he's more a forward at this stage, and we need him to be you know, that power forward. He has all the attributes. He's having some issues with his conversion at this stage, but he's an outstanding young man, and we're really confident that he's going to work at that and pull through and be a really good player for us.
Really missed him. Really missed. We've got to use him while here. Really missed Butcher, you think, this year?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you're short on for gun players and match winners, and anyone that goes down or is impacted through a pre-season.
Key forwards are
kill
massive,
him.
aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. He's a star, and he kicked I think 11 goals in a 3-week period.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
18 months ago, and we haven't really seen him get back to that.
He's just had wretched luck with his body. If he gets a run at it, and it looks like he's getting that now, then you know, I think he's incredibly exciting.
The versatility feeds into game styles. I want to run this by you. Kingy tabled this a few weeks ago, the styles that he observes within the game, some adopted by particular teams, some adopted within matches and changed as we go.
So many different ways, and so many different ways inside those half a dozen.
That's a Swans game plan there, isn't it?
Well, it is. Unfortunately, they've got all of them covered. But there are, I mean, it's too long to go through the specifics of and a little bit boring, really, for the average person just watching the show. But there are so many different facets to the game now that players have to be across and coaches have to be able to address week to week, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. It just used to be an absolute given that if you didn't win inside 50s or clearances, you were probably not going to be competitive at the pointy end. Sydney often lose entries, in fact got smashed in the grand final, but are so efficient when they go forward. Geelong, you know, so we're talking about two of the best teams at the minute, are rarely winning clearances, in fact getting beaten, you know, reasonably heavily in there, and yet their ability to be able to counter-attack from defence is just so impressive. So, no, you're right, there's a real change there.
Didn't happen to see the Swans last weekend, did you?
They were amazing, weren't they? Their ability to just put relentless, aggressive pressure was as good as I've seen in a long time.
One word to describe Chris Judd, he plays his 250th game this week.
Star, and
Go to your room,
again,
that's too boring.
Well,
That's too boring.
Let me elaborate.
Thank
first.
you, mate.
I'll say this, that a better person than he's a player, as good a person as I've come across in footy, given his status in the game, given how often he's asked to do things for others, he's the last to leave the training track. If it is that there's a signing session after training, he's a really, really impressive person. And obviously, the game 2 years ago up in Sydney in the wet, I have not seen...
That was phenomenal, I remember that.
In fact, Gary Ablett probably did it on the weekend, didn't he? Very similar, but
Does it every weekend.
as good a game of footy as I've seen.
Alan, great of you to join us. We really appreciate your insights.
No worries.
And Kingy, enjoy your weekend at footy.
Thank you.